Hey everybody, it's Danny with Total Geek Live, and I'm here with Kaiser. Nope, I've got to point this way. And Baltimore, and Guy. And we're here doing a Total Geeks review of Black Panther.
Wakanda
Yes,
forever.
for Wakanda.
Dude.
Dude,
Dude, dude,
yes.
dude,
Yep. Yep.
dude.
Yep, just real quick to let you viewers know that I had a trifecta, and this finished it out. When I was a little kid, and at the little RX pharmacy thing where I would get my comic books and eat my grilled cheese sandwiches and read comic books and drink my Dr Pepper by the fountain. It was Thor, it was Doctor Strange, and then it was Black Panther. And I was a little kid again watching this movie.
That's awesome.
Yep.
There
So
you
where
go.
where are you gonna where are you gonna go from here? I mean, just retire?
I know, right?
So, Total Geek days are
There's
over.
always the sequels.
Oh yeah,
There's Infinity War where it's all together now.
yeah. He will be back in Infinity War. I mean, spoiler alert.
Great, John. Thanks.
Speaking
Yeah.
of spoiler alerts, we will start this off spoiler free, as you see
We
down
will.
here. Spoiler free, but we will switch to spoilers at some point. So if you haven't seen it yet, feel free to watch up to there. Feel free to watch after it. It's up to you, man. It's your life.
Just jump around randomly, see what we say at any given time.
That's probably the best way to play this game.
Probably.
That's kind of how my mindset goes anyway, so it works perfect.
Awesome. So, Danny, being this is the end of your trifecta,
Yeah.
did it live up to your wildest childhood dreams?
Right. Yeah, it did. It was a solid film. I understand some of the liberties that they taken from the comics. This is the cinematic universe, so I was totally on board with that. I kind of had them wanted to go in my mind. I thought maybe they should go a certain couple of different directions, but overall, I was okay with it. And it was just amazing just to see Wakanda in its full massive glory in moving. I've only been able to see it in two-dimensional still pictures. Just to see it moving and just all of the community and the people around it, it was so visually amazing, and the sound was amazing. This soundtrack is awesome. It's going on my playlist for sure. It was just a marvelous time. I was worried. I was very apprehensive with all of the you know what would seem to be like overhype and
Yes.
that did concern me.
Mhm.
However, I mean, the costumes were so good. It was just every little detail about this film for a solo film. This is one of their bests,
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I agree. So, I'm gonna go clockwise here, guy.
So that would be me. All right. Well, I saw it Friday night. I saw it opening night, and the crowd was like way into it. I mean, everyone was having a good time. You could just clearly tell that. But for me, it was a great film. I mean, it was a fun story. The action scenes were really cool. Um, the visuals were beautiful, especially in that afterlife. The afterlife scenes were just
Oh
fantastic.
yeah, those,
Yes, yeah,
those
They hyped up the sunsets in Wakanda, and they delivered well. Like you, Danny, I love the soundtrack. I'm a big soundtrack guy, as I told you guys before we did this, and like I haven't heard a lot of really memorable soundtracks lately. This one stuck out, both the modern music and then even just the overall thematic music. I loved world music growing up, so I mean this was like really cool. I also like the fact that the way the Marvel Cinematic Universe is, it's like everything's so interconnected. So if you like miss one or two, it gets a little confusing. This kind of reminded me of Guardians of the Galaxy in the sense that this was a very standalone film.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Obviously, they gave a couple nods here and there that it'll connect and when it needs to, and it did because they mentioned some Civil War stuff that happened prior.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but this one, I think also thematically met like Guardians of the Galaxy, where Guardians was more of like a space comedy. This was more of a character-driven drama piece, which was
Mhm.
nice, and I thought that really stood out and made this a little bit more unique in the overall, because we've had so many films in this series already. I thought that really made it stand out. Um, Actually, it's kind of funny. Black Panther actually reminded me of another Disney film, just from the musical stylings and the main character seeking spiritual guidance from his father in the afterlife, and then of course the rightful king working on with a small group to reclaim his place in the throne.
Hmm.
It did remind me a little bit of The Lion King, in that
Wakanda,
but
Black Panther.
You are
with the music,
Black
yeah. Lion King's a
Panther.
great film, and the similarities were obviously it's not a blatant ripoff or anything by any means, but it did kind of remind me. There were just like little tones. It's like this is kind of like a cool, like superhero Lion King sort of thing because it had that Shakespearean, family treachery and stuff like that. That
Hmm.
was super cool.
Yeah.
I totally see that now. That didn't cross my mind, but as you were saying that, it's like I knew exactly where you're going.
Because all the cool chants and everything else, like I haven't heard anything like this since the Lion King. I haven't seen any rightful king trying to reclaim their throne since the Lion King, and it was fun. And as I said, obviously it's not an homage to or even inspired by. I just saw similarities, and I just thought that was like super cool because I loved the Lion King, so that was just a nice little nod.
Right.
Uh, the only other two things, Shuri, T'Challa's sister. I think she was my breakout character because I just loved her to death. She was just
Everyone's
awesome.
saying
Totally
that. Yeah.
agree.
She was just a cute, fun, neat, badass character. I mean, she was all cheerful and upbeat, but man, I think she could give Tony Stark a run for his money.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I had a good time. It was a great story. I think it was one of the stronger Marvel films that's come out in a while, where it was able to kind of it meshed, but it didn't necessarily rely on all the other films to tell its own story, and that was a nice break for me.
Yeah. Absolutely
What
not.
did you think, Baltimore?
Um, this film, I was highly anticipating it, and I feel it delivered on every scale I needed. Check mark, check mark, check mark, check plus. Let's do it.
Hmm.
Um, and I also think this is probably one of the best adapted stories that the Marvel Universe has seen because Black Panther is a character that was created a long time ago, and a lot of different authors have had their hands on him and added to his story and done this to this and had Wakanda do this, and so there's been a lot of things added here and there, better or worse, and now we had the opportunity to have a Black Panther film, and we get to see Wakanda and all these elements, um, and deciding how they pieced together what made sense to them, and like, okay, how do we make this connection stronger? What would be better if, oh, what if we actually made this person his cousin, or what if we made this person his uncle? And those kind of connections, where they're not in the comics, are now here in the cinematic version,
Hmm.
and it makes it a stronger film. And that's something that I've actually had a lot of issues with before, but now I'm kind of easing up on that, kind of like, well, that's not how they work. It worked. When it works, it works. And this
Right.
film really worked. All those relationships. Um, yeah, absolutely. Letitia was an amazing Shuri. I thought that was great. All the acting was really exciting. The storyline was good. And I think more importantly, the thematic question at the base of this, the heart of this, is action versus inaction.
Right.
So
Mm.
the remoteness that Wakanda had been for centuries versus now they have to interact with the real world. And I think that's really good question. Great for mining, a lot of different stories.
Hmm.
Uh, But I was really, really impressed with that. I really loved it. Soundtrack, yes. Acting, great. Everything. CGI wasn't as awesome as I would hoped on some parts, but still, just an amazing, amazing story.
So I'm everything all you said. Although I was probably more apprehensive going in that I've been fearing Marvel's trend towards the let's make everything funny,
Yes.
and after Thor Ragnarok, I mean, which worked, it was a fun movie, and the Guardians movies, it just felt like that trajectory was the trajectory they were taking,
Right.
their movies, and I was a little apprehensive. I'm like, don't make this all like this, even though it's like this is a heist movie, this is like a love story, and this is a this movie. They each have their, this is a space opera. They each have that kind of foundation, but they all started kind of blending together as far
Yeah,
as the tone and the humor.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I was worried. I mean, I should have known as soon as Coogler was attached, who can now do whatever he wants in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Creed was the setup, and then this was the knock out of the park. Kudos to him as the writer and the director of this film. The amazing cast behind it, um, beginning to end, credit sequences to transitions, every minute little thing in this is almost perfect as far as the movie goes.
And if it's not perfect, it's
Yeah, it's
what's needed for this film.
exactly. Yeah, if it's not perfect, it's at least this is some of the better it's been done, or if it's high enough quality to that, it sets a overall bar for anybody else coming after. Um, thoroughly enjoyed it, and I guess, do we want to go into spoilers now? Although this isn't really a spoiler, but I did have one comment towards what Guy touched on just a second ago.
Okay.
You said that you think she could give Tony Stark a run for her money, his money. In the comics, since Iron Man is now a like 15-year-old,
Iron.
African, yeah, Ironheart.
Ironheart, yeah.
With
Iron Man is
Iron Man is now Ironheart. Yeah, so I could, even though she's not Ironheart, it's a girl from like Brooklyn or something.
Yeah, like Lucy Williams, I think her name is for the new one.
Right. I can see them taking this character that's now established in the MCU,
Right.
and transitioning her into that role.
Absolutely.
Since after Infinity War and RDJ's done with his, stint as Iron Man, she would be the natural. I mean, for what the MCU set up,
Right.
And
it just makes complete sense.
yeah,
The puzzle pieces are all falling in right there.
Yeah. It's like you take that inspiration from the comics, but you make the cinematic twist on it, changing a little bit of the origin and the character, but still maintaining who the character is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think that would be brilliant on their part to make that.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
So
go ahead and pop into spoilers.
Yeah, we could definitely do spoilers now. It's
Spoilers
time.
ahead.
Yep. Look out. Oh, I'm
Spoilers.
pointing the wrong way. Spoilers.
Expiration.
Spoilers around somewhere around
Cinematic milk is spoiled.
around somewhere.
We left it sitting out too long.
Man.
It's kind of funky. Now we dropped the real deal.
Speaking of funky, man, Eric. Well, I guess it's not spoiler, but we didn't really mention what a great villain Eric Killmonger.
I was
Michael
about
B.
to say,
Jordan.
far too long have Marvel villains been given like that throwaway stat. The last few have they've really, really worked on making their villains well-rounded and powerful and important.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And they always say the test of a good villain is if they're the hero of their own story.
Yes.
And
He
this
was.
is coming from. I don't like Michael B. Jordan. I can't stand him.
Mm-hmm.
There's something about him. I don't like his acting. I don't like it. And I was really not happy when he was in this film because I was like, oh, great.
You mean when he was announced to be in it, not when you experienced him in it?
No. When I knew that he was going to, when I found out he was
Okay.
going to be in the film, I was really upset because I didn't want to watch a film with him in it.
Right.
And he killed it. He was incredible. It was an amazing performance. It was all the things that you think about as a villain, like the energy they need, the reasoning, the
Yeah.
manipulation behind it. All of it was so impeccably done. You know, that's a writer, director, actor, you know, coming together to make it work. And it was so good. And you can see that he's not wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
He's
Yeah.
wrong to share its resources and to help when it's closed itself off for so long and allowed its children
Yeah.
be
Exploited.
exploited. Yeah. You know, and that's that great line at the end when he says, I'd rather, and I'm going to butcher it because I can't remember it exactly, but it's, I'd rather die in the ocean free than shackled or.
Yeah. That one last line he did.
That,
Yeah, it was beautiful. Masterful writing right there.
I heard a wow in the audience when that happened.
Yeah.
yeah, I felt it well right here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's probably his best. It definitely is his best role ever, and you know, and the scene with him when he went into the astral plane, and was back at home and saw his father, and just that moment, I loved the transitioning of seeing him child and interacting, and then adult interacting with his father, and the back and forth of that and all that. Such a powerful moment, and it humanized it that right there at that moment humanized the villain so much that
I agree.
Baltimore, like you said, you start to realize, man, he may be right. He's on to something. He's just his methods are to get to the goal are questionable, morally speaking, and stuff. But he's right in some case, in some essence. So.
And the hero knows he's right.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's exactly it.
Yeah, it wasn't like my ideology versus your ideology. It's, look, I understand this is the way it was and things need to change. You're just coming about it wrong. It's like, and just that clash of how to make it happen.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, go on.
I would say, but the genesis or the basis of what needs to be done, they were all on the same page.
Right. And I mean, you can see that in the end, that T'Challa is battling with this. Is like, you know, he wants to save this kid. He's wanted to the whole time. When he found out, I mean, and that's the other thing. It was so crushing to have your father put on a pedestal so much, and to realize that he was just as human as everybody else and made mistakes. And here, T'Challa, part of it is he's wanting to kind of find a way to, oh, what's the word I'm looking for? It starts with an R, but you know, when you're trying to do something for right somebody else's wrong.
Like a redemption?
A redemption, yes, thank you. He wants to redeem his father's mistake by helping this child that has now turned into this man who is so
angry,
but you know, he has a purpose, and he believes in what he's doing, but he's just doing it the wrong way, and he thinks that he could, you know, save him and save his life. He's, whatever I can to do, our technology and all that, I could save you. You could still become part of this, and I can help you. And when he came up with that line, it was just it was such a defeat for the Black Panther too. To like, man.
Well, I think in both those scenes where Black Panther met his father, and it was kind of that what you said, he put him on a pedestal. I think there's a lesson in there that all children eventually learn that their parents are human,
Mm-hmm.
and they make mistakes, and that's a lesson I think all children eventually learn about their parents. And then, even Killmonger, when he's talking to his dad just kind of looks sadly. It's like, do you have no tears for me? And I think just because of all the injustices and the anger that he's dealt with over his life,
Yeah.
he was cheated. It wasn't fair.
Right.
He got left behind to cover up a convenient
Yeah.
narrative change for
Mhm.
for them, not for Killmonger, but for them. And even in the end, I found it interesting that Killmonger's plan ultimately went through, where he was going to spread Wakanda throughout the world. It ultimately worked. And T'Challa taking it on, it just went through a different method. Again, as you said, I think they kind of, so he still ultimately got what he wanted. They just did it a different, less angry, less burdened by personal experience sort of way.
Right.
I mean, it is called Black Panther, not Killmonger.
Right.
Yes.
But yeah.
But there was a whole sect of people on his wavelength, that
Mhm.
best friends and lovers and loved ones that it created, and that was that divide within the community itself.
Mhm.
And I mean, talk about a relevant piece of cinema reflecting today's, just our state here in America and amongst, world abroad,
Right.
where you have these conflicting ideals of the way things should be towards a betterment for everybody, but they're still so completely different that
Yeah.
people clash with each other when the end goal is to empower and better everything.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that moment when they realize that, he looks around. Oh god, the Get Out actor's name, I'm having a blank. Um, the best friend, Black
Wakabi.
Panther's best.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's the part of the
Was him.
farming tribe.
Yeah, was
yeah.
him.
Wakabi. Yeah.
When because he was like right there and like spearheaded a lot of it. When he
Mm-hmm.
stopped and realized, wait, we're divided. We're at each other's throats. This isn't. When he realized that, he stopped.
Mhm.
And took that knee, and then that resonated through everyone else. But
Right.
I mean, powerful, powerful fight scenes. They didn't have to kill him to be right. They didn't
Yeah.
have to. It was stopping and realizing what the hell was going on is what helped lead to the solution.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So I mean, it just stuff like that.
Yeah, the action scenes of this were awesome. Two words: war rhinos. Those are
Yes.
awesome. That was like the most comic book thing I've ever seen in a comic book movie. That was just that was some seriously cool
Is
business.
it sad that it was a better looking Rhino than Rhino in Spider-Man?
Oh, yeah, no, that's a stretch. Um, Also, I can say they did a far better casino scene than Last Jedi did.
Yeah, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that had a James Bond cool vibe to it. You knew stuff was going down, and then that car scene where uh,
He's like,
Oh,
oh,
the wig, yeah, like.
Oh yeah, I loved it when
the
she
wig
did that.
is like a distraction weapon, which is just like freaking awesome. And then Shuri gets into that virtual car, and I'm just like, this scene's great.
Yes.
I mean, everything worked. Even the soundtrack, just perfectly. Everything was just perfectly painted out on that, and I really enjoyed that action scene. It was exciting, and it's like, what a cool concept. And then they brought it back for the agent towards
Yeah.
the end of the thing. It's
Martin
like,
Freeman's
so they've got
character.
all kinds of virtual vehicles at their disposal.
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely.
Yeah, and going along with that, I liked how they took Martin Freeman's CIA character and integrated him into the story from the moment of the casino scene and onward. I thought it was a creative way of kind of sticking him in there.
Yeah.
And then there was the line, Shuri's like, "Oh, great, another broken white
Broken
boy."
white boy.
Yeah, which was just a quick little
Nod.
nod that hey, you might want to stick around for after the credits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that wasn't that the was that the end of Civil War where they
Yes.
showed Bucky in Wakanda? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they have
yeah,
like
yeah.
a cryogenic chamber or something.
Yeah, so the whole movie, I was like, when is Bucky going to make an appearance? Because
Right.
I knew he was there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now,
So-
I love, you were talking about earlier the costumes, amazingly beautiful. All the colors, just so rich, and even just like the environment was so full of color and light
Yes.
and just vibrant,
Yes.
and exactly how you would picture something like this to actually be.
Mhm.
It's great. And then the two things that I really want to point out is how absolutely perfect the ancestral plane was for both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Both different. One is an Oakland apartment
Yeah.
or
Right.
Yeah.
Killmonger, and for T'Challa, it's the actual Serengeti
Lion King said.
plane. Yeah,
Right.
and it's like, yeah, that's exactly what it would look like to him, and that's exactly what it would look like for him.
Right.
Mhm.
Like that's those like genius moments and points that are there that really elevate it to a higher, grade.
Right.
Which those scenes prior, which led to the astral plane, the burying of the entire body, it's like they're gonna breathe that in. It's like you're gonna kill them. It's like
Right.
why are you doing it? It's like how does that work?
Magic. It's magic.
It is. It's an ancient magic.
That's right.
One thing you talk about the scenery and the beauty of it is I find myself I watch a lot of well not a lot of but more and more these days like Bollywood and like Japanese and now getting into some of the Russian stuff that's coming out that's really good, like just stuff that other countries are doing cinematically because I get tired of seeing the same old places. Like I've seen New York before. I've been, to San Francisco. I've seen this play out so many times, and the same beats and the same, it's like,
Yeah.
as much as I consume, it's like it gets tiring. So I've been reaching outward, um, like I said, Bollywood and stuff, Chinese. It's just anything that just gives me something new, takes me to a new place that has a different feel, that has a different take. And this was that for me. It's like, oh, finally, this is something, I could go see in the theater and get that same kind of rush and experience of something new. Um, so, oh man, I loved it.
Yeah.
Real quick, going back to the astral plane scenes, I kind of just wanted Doctor Strange in there just one little moment. Because we all the other films we've had nice little cross pollination in here, and we didn't really get it in this film.
No, not
And
so the
I
stingers.
thought just seeing like one of the Black Panthers with a red cape in the background, kind of just chilling, would have been a nice little touch there.
Well-
Or maybe like as he's leaving, like he shows up and says, "No, you need to listen to your dad" or something. I don't know. I thought it would have been fun.
I think it is like Guardians, just in the sense it's so standalone because it's so far removed. Because
Right.
like you said, John, everything's in New York City. I mean, that's Marvel. Marvel's always based in New York City, no matter what happens. But
Yeah.
Guardians and Black Panther are probably of everything. Well, Thor, I suppose, but Avengers. Those two are probably the most farthest removed from New York as you can possibly get in the universe. So
Well, also this takes place within like the 2 weeks after Civil War, so it's not a lot of breadth of space
Right.
there to play with, in that regards.
So we want to touch on the stingers before we wrap this up.
Well, I think we first wanted to talk about some of the other characters that were really
Oh
great.
yeah.
M'Baku, in the Mountain Tribe.
Yes.
It was, and that was a very tricky character to bring to screen because he has a very storied past. kind of steeped in a little racial tones,
Mm-hmm.
and they wisely avoided that and made it work for the character. And it was a great, one of the things that Ryan was talking about, the director was talking about, is he wanted to make it feel like Wakanda was an actual kingdom with different tribes and towns and so forth. And this, helped make it that way.
Right.
Completely off in the mountains, snowed, reserved away from everybody. And it was his scenes were really, really great. And you got a lot of that tension and reasoned why they avoid each other and why they actually need each other. And that was really great. And that's what you want in that conflict of will they help, will they won't, can I rely on them? And it was really, really great, moments between them. And him coming back was really awesome. Danny, is it Danny? Michonne? Okay. I think.
Hold on, let me play it again.
Is the Dora Milaje?
Names.com.
Protect.
We just talked about that.
I know.
Dana Guerrero.
Dana.
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 Oh my
Dana
god.
Guerrera.
Everything. I mean, cast her for everything because she's just incredibly amazing.
Yeah, she's awesome.
She was so good, and Lupita was amazing as the love interest, who I was not expecting to have a love interest because I'm still want Black Panther and Storm together.
Oh.
Well, okay, and that's
Bring
interesting
that up.
because I had to go back and refresh my memory and all that. And I mean, in the comics, she isn't really necessarily a love interest.
Nikia? No.
No, she's actually, spoiler alert, and this may be later on or what, Black
Yeah.
Panther 2 or I don't know, but she's bad.
Yeah.
She's pretty bad.
Yeah.
But I kind of understand from the cinematic reasoning why they did this and all that. And
Yeah.
the Storm relationship only lasted about 6 years, I think.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean,
um,
it was everything's retconned in, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But
The one thing that I understand in an adaptation wise, I get it, but at the same time, it still detracts a little bit. T'Challa himself is supposed to be a super smart character, like Reed Richards, Tony Stark level.
right.
His performance does not make him feel that way. I feel
Well-
like they did all to Shuri, which is fine, but it changes him a little bit for me.
See, I think where they made up for maybe lack of like technical intelligence, his human intelligence, like social awareness, the greater understanding of the world and the inner workings of just that kind of intelligence, he shined. But yeah, he's not like just another tech genius like a Stark or a Richards, but he never came across as unintelligent to me. Just
He's
not
adaptive.
not tech savvy.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's that part. It just feels a little lessened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Well,
found him more adaptive situationally than anything.
But I still really loved almost every single part of this.
It was a solid one for sure.
We finally got to see the demise of
Claw.
Claw.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, he's been in a lot of the films.
Mm-hmm. Well, not anymore. Maybe flashbacks, I guess.
Well, that's the other thing that Marvel does well with their villains. Gone.
Bye bye.
Yeah, they do a lot of sometimes one-offs and sometimes not. They can stick around a little bit longer, but
yeah, Zemo got a little nod in this.
Yeah, at the beginning.
At the beginning on the TV, and that was it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
go ahead.
I was just gonna say one of the greatest things, just like meme-wise, that's come out of this movie is the Tolkien white guys.
Yeah, that's funny. I did see Bilbo talking to Gollum. I'm not gonna lie.
Exactly, it's like you
I
got
saw
the
that.
two Lord of the Rings characters.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. That's what I saw.
Yeah.
But
That's
yeah,
just
being a
so
bad guy,
hilarious.
it's like hey, you've been cast in a Marvel movie. Yay! You're gonna be a bad guy though. Oh.
Yeah, right.
But Andy Serkis played with what he had. He made Claw, even though he was a secondary villain throughout all of his appearances. He really stepped up in this, and he's like, you know what? I've got 2 or 3 scenes. I'm going to chew them up a little bit, have some fun with the character, and and it made for, I think, for the betterment, his performance.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I'm actually glad that he wasn't the full villain for it.
Yes.
Although comic character-wise, it would have made sense. I'm glad they decided to keep it more, come on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, this is going to be a huge success. And obviously, I'm sure Disney's going to want to do more with it. I actually want to make a prediction, and depending on how long this is going to take, I just want to see if we can come back to this moment in one day and just see if I was right or not.
Okay.
The way Disney World's going through a lot of changes right now. The Disney parks are going through a lot of changes. They're actually putting a Guardians of the Galaxy ride in Epcot, which is genre breaking for that whole theme park since it's all science and technology and world culture.
Right.
The way Disney is working now, I want to make a prediction that Disney is going to make some Black Panther attraction and place it in an Animal Kingdom. Whether it's a version of Wakanda that guests can interact with, or there's going to be a Black Panther experience. I could totally see Disney wanting to expand its Marvel base and doing something like that.
And
Absolutely.
That's a pretty smart move.
Yeah, it would
a
make
Jungle Cruise
perfect.
through Wakanda.
Yep, it would make
totally
perfect sense to put it there.
Yeah, because there's an African section and there's an Asian section, but yeah, I think they could, knowing Disney, because they originally had some weird ideas for Animal Kingdom, but I could see them making I don't know, I actually did want to explore Wakanda. I thought the cultural stylings with all this awesome technology was probably one of the coolest cities I've seen in a while outside of Blade Runner 2049.
Right, and I loved how they rooted it, they still had that street culture.
Yes.
The open bazaar kind of,
It was a merriment of old and new.
Yeah.
In a way that made sense for that culture. And I think it's something that Ryan talks about as Afrofuturism, which is a great concept. And I really would love to see more of that, take root and grow.
It's a cool
continue to be
style.
seen. I think it's a really great concept, and I liked it too. I think you're right.
Yeah. But yeah, my prediction is Black Panther attraction in Animal Kingdom. Let's see if I'm right a few years down the line.
Right on.
Right on.
I'm down for it.
Where do we go from here, guys?
Where do we go? We go to Infinity War.
That is the next one. Okay, so we're almost here. Holy crap!
But till then.
One broken white guy to another broken white guy.
Yes. Did we mention the Stingers?
Wakanda Forever. Let's do, yeah.
Yeah, let's do this.
So what on the Stingers? What did we get? First one.
Revelation of Wakanda, and
which had the great. What is a farm? A little African third world farm country. Gonna teach us.
Yes.
It's oh, you snotty little white man.
Yeah. Oh, just you wait. Just you wait.
Yeah, it's just have a seat. Well, you'll find out.
You're gonna break your back. We'll fix it for you.
Right.
And then the second
that's
Stinger.
How I would show him.
Yeah.
Hurts, doesn't it? Oh, wait, we fixed it for you. Isn't that great?
Got any other questions? But yeah, the second Stinger.
The second Stinger. The little boys all hovered around, and you're seeing it from the person's perspective of all these little boy faces hovering around, and then you're wondering, well, who exactly is that they're looking at?
Who could it be now?
Who could it be? And then a one-armed man pops out of that little hut.
It wasn't
me. It was the one-armed man.
It's the one Harrison Ford was looking for the entire time, right?
He's been in Wakanda. That's why he couldn't find him.
That's right.
Hologram smoke screens.
No, but I like it how she calls him, Agent
White
Barnes or whatever, and
Yeah.
no, the little kids call him White Wolf.
White Wolf. Yeah.
But she
Okay.
calls him Agent Barnes, and he just looks at her. No, it's Bucky. Come on.
Yeah. He seems like he's in a better place finally, so I think he's ready.
Well, I would definitely imagine so with all the healing abilities that.
Right. I mean, they can blend in magic and technology. Combined, those are probably what it takes to fix the Winter Soldier, for sure.
So clearly he's going to get a new arm, though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm sure she's working on one right now.
Yeah,
mean,
with all of her technology stuff.
Yeah.
And she's awesome.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think he was healed just from a spiritual standpoint and a mental health standpoint,
Mm-hmm.
being in Wakanda and off from the world and having that time to process everything he's gone through,
Right.
you know. So, yeah, he looked like he was in a much better place all around.
How can you not be in a better place that has a monorail?
Right.
It's just like Disney, huh?
Already, they have a monorail. Oh, wait,
What are you,
just down the
are you
road.
a monorail? Like, are you a monorail salesman?
Monorail, I'm good. You know.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it, guys. We all loved Black Panther. It was flippin' awesome. And we can't highly more recommend it. So if you have not seen it, go out and see it right now. Right
Sorry
now.
for you.
Now finish our video first, then go out and see it.
Yeah, oh yeah, right. But
Unless you're watching in the theater, then
or go see it and then watch this video afterwards again. So,
Here we go.
but it was a pleasure spending this time with you guys, talking about this great film and one of my favorite comics. So, it's all geek to us, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.